Thanks for watching another Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25, where we talk about St. Mary's University athletics. I'm your host, Dean Beckman. I'm the faculty athletic representative for St. Mary's, and my co-host is the sports information director, Donny Nadeau. And today on the Cardinals Nest, we are going to feature women's hockey. A little bit later on in the program, we'll have senior forward Anya Hafiz joining us, and she'll tell us about her hockey career at St. Mary's. And before we get to Anya, though, we've got Jason Carter. Jason is the assistant coach for St. Mary's. And Jason, we had you on once last year, but good to have you back here again on the Nest.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Jason is the veteran of the women's hockey coaching staff in his second year.
Third year. But yes, I am the veteran.
Jace, talk a little bit about your progression in terms of an assistant coach here at St. Mary's, because it's different than high school, where you came from as being an assistant coach, your responsibilities. Talk a little bit about year 3 for you.
Yeah, it's been a lot of change, obviously, with the new head coach coming in, different roles and responsibilities. So I've kind of taken charge of the recruiting aspect. Sarah being new to it, not really knowing the landscape of AAA hockey versus Minnesota high school, and so she's kind of let me take the lead. And I really appreciate her putting that trust in me to do that. And so that's kind of one of my main duties for sure. And then this year, I've gone back and coached the D. So in the past, I've done the forwards. Greg did the D, and then now we switched it, which is kind of interesting because Sarah played D her whole life. I played forward my whole life. So we give it a little bit different perspective, but she really likes calling line matchups and everything, and so I've been able to learn a lot from her and learn a lot from the defensemen too, and just kind of see a different perspective of the game.
Yeah, maybe talk about that kind of added responsibility, really, just kind of helping Sarah through, some of the rules of Division III, and I'm sure a big part of it too is helping recruit.
Absolutely, yeah. Recruiting's a big piece, and a lot of it's just relationships, getting to know the different coaches in the AAA game, getting to know the high school coaches as well, and kind of figuring out where we traditionally get kids from. There's certain areas in the metro area where we get kids, or the Chicago area, Michigan area, and so trying to really pull kids out of those spots. And then there's other duties like ordering equipment that Greg always did, and so now that's something that I do as well, and I didn't really know what all went into that, and so now I'm a little more tied into the budget and what we can spend and what we can't.
Now, I recently saw a social media post of Sarah holding a big fish. Did you teach her to ice fish, or?
I cannot take credit for that. No, I do enjoy ice fishing, but I cannot take credit for that. No.
I'm surprised she found time to ice fish. You guys are pretty busy right about now. Jace, talk a little bit about your relationship now with Sarah, because 3 years ago you come in as the new person and work under Coach Moore. Now really you are the veteran that she's relying on. What have you learned so far from her in terms of her coaching style and what she brings to the program?
Yeah, I think just the structure and the standards and the expectations. Not that we didn't have high expectations in the past, but I think she just brings a really strong presence. I mean, you read her hockey resume and you're like, all right, she knows what she's talking about, and she just commands the room really, really well. The girls really respect her. I think they like having a female perspective. We both try to be there for the girls and have kind of an open door policy, but them being able to go to another female, I think is really nice for them. And I've learned a ton just from all the different places she's been at Duluth and college, and then coaching the Olympics, all the cool stories she has and experiences. It's been a lot of fun.
So right now, as we kind of take a look at the past this season here, you're really in the middle of the season yet. 5-8-2 is the record, and in conference play, you're 2-5-1. So kind of walk us through the season here and some of the strengths of the team so far, and some of the things that you're still hoping to improve on.
Yeah, obviously the record's not where we want it to be, but if you look at the schedule, we played some very tough teams. Starting the season at Adrian, they're a national powerhouse. Gustavus is ranked in the top 5 right now. St. Thomas is always good. So the record itself is not where we want it to be, but with the new coach, there's a lot of change. Even things like terminology and just the way that we approach things is a little bit different. So the girls have done a good job adjusting. I'd say our goaltending and our defense has always been a strong suit of this program, and like any team, we're always trying to find more offense and trying to find ways to create scoring, and we've been juggling lines a little bit. We have new lines going to this weekend, so we'll see if we can spark something.
Well, I'll certainly ask Anya about it, but that was going to be my next question in terms of consistency in terms of the lineup, because really there hasn't been. Are you still searching for that right mix of forwards that skate together? Because it seems like just about every game there are some changes in the lineup, and it's not due necessarily to injury.
Would agree, yeah. We're definitely just trying to find that little mix of what works and trying to put pieces together and trying to find that right puzzle. And it just hasn't happened yet, but we're open to new ideas, and we're kind of asking the players, like, hey, what are you looking at on the ice? Who do you want to play with, sort of thing, and trying to get some of their input as well, because they see a different perspective, obviously, when they're out there.
And certainly you've got some players to provide that input. Anya, who we'll bring on the show in a little bit here, a senior forward, so she can give you some input from the offensive side of things. And of course, Natalie Ryan, a senior defender on the other side. So how much, as a coach, do you sort of lean to your senior leaders to provide some of that input?
Yeah, at the end of the day, we know it's their team, and we're going to kind of steer them in the right direction, but they have to get us there. And so we really appreciate their input. We ask them kind of what their thoughts are, who they want to play with, that sort of thing. And, ultimately, we're going to make that decision, but we do appreciate what they have to say, and we do have some very good senior leaders in both Anya and Natalie, and Courtney Moser's a junior who's been playing really, really well. And then we have 16 sophomores and freshmen. So we got kind of that top veteran group, and then we have a lot of young kids that are, new to college hockey, new to college life, and it's been a good mix. The team's really come together.
And that certainly is one of the reasons for changes, and for maybe even for the record where it's at right now too. Is that as you mentioned, 16 underclassmen is a lot to
it is a lot.
That is a lot. Talk a little bit about your goaltending. I know every coach kind of wants that one goalie that can step up and play every single game for you, but you've been fortunate enough to have two of those caliber goalies in Ari and Jordan, and that's got to be nice from a coaching perspective, in that that every single night you're going to get solid goaltending from either one, whichever one's between.
For sure, yeah. They battle every day in practice. They push each other, which is a nice thing to have. It's not just that we know we're going with one and then the other one's kind of just going through the motions. They're both battling day in and day out, and it is nice to always have that. You'd like to have one kind of establish yourself, or we're still kind of waiting for that to happen. It hasn't. But in a good way, no one's played themselves out of that position either. They've still given us a chance to win almost every game.
One of the games I want to ask you specifically about is the one that didn't count. It was the exhibition game against Team China. Tell us how that came to be, and what that experience was like, both for you and the team in general.
Yeah, so they reached out to us. They sent me an email, and they asked if we had any exhibition games open, and I sent on to Sarah and said, I think this would be a really cool opportunity, and we had an open spot for an exhibition game, so they were able to come down and play us. And we found out that they've actually been over here since June, training up in the cities. They've been staying up there, and then there's a private company that's training them, kind of preparing them for the 2022 Olympics in Beijing. And Sarah was kind of saying she obviously has some Asian connections, and she thinks it's probably a private investor that's funding that team to maybe someday compete in like the Women's Russian League. And again, some of those players may make the national team for Team China, but really cool experience to play against them. They're a talented team. I know they've played Eau Claire, Stevens Point, St. Thomas, so they're playing a lot of good D3 teams. It was fun to get a win, and then we got to sit down and eat pizza with them after the game, and we had our players kind of intermingling with them, and getting to meet people from other cultures is a really cool experience.
Talk a little bit about the upcoming the rest of the season. You're really right in the stretch run right now. Playoffs are certainly right there for the taking for you guys. Do you talk at all to the team about what's coming up, or do you really try to focus like this weekend on Bethel, or do you look ahead at all in terms of what we need to do moving forward?
Yeah, the easy answer is both. We try and get the players to focus on the weekend ahead as much as possible, and we can only control what we're doing this weekend. But as coaches, we definitely look ahead, and we try and project out a little bit. And we're currently one spot out of the playoffs, 1 point behind, and so we play 2 more teams above us, 3 more teams below us, and so we feel pretty confident that if we play up to our potential, that we're going to be in that playoff mix, no doubt.
So what will it take, do you think, to get over that hump? Is it just a more consistent play on a Friday, Saturday basis? Because I know for a lot of teams, both women and men, that can be a challenge.
Yes.
You come out fired up, ready to go on a Friday night, and then things can wane a little bit on Saturday, or vice versa.
I agree. It's riding that roller coaster, trying to be consistent as possible. We are still searching for our first road win. So we have the bigger ice sheet at home. We like to take advantage of that, and we have a pretty solid home record, but we're still trying to find that compete level and find a way to win on the road. It's always tough to win in the MIAC, especially on the road. So if we can find a way to do that, I think we'll put ourselves in a really good
I've
spot.
always thought if you look at the difference between, say, basketball and hockey, especially in terms of scheduling, you guys play the same team twice, just like basketball does, but you play them back-to-back. So one weekend you face St. Thomas 2 times, never get to see them again. Basketball plays a round robin where you play them once, then maybe a month away you get to play them again. Which way would you rather see it for your team?
I see both sides. I mean, from a coaching perspective, it's nice to do one scouting report on the weekend, and that's kind of our focus going in. And not a whole lot changes from Friday into Saturday, but if you got kids that are sick or you got some injuries and you play a team really early in the year, that you might be a totally different team at the end of the season. So I see the goods and the bads. I can understand the logistics of the travel and the schedule would be tough to play different teams on any given weekend. And for whatever reason, that's kind of the way college hockey's always done it. And it does build some nice rivalries and leads to some good intensity in those Saturday games.
Jason, a few minutes left here. You used a phrase that I want to touch on just a little bit because kind of the behind-the-scenes work that casual fans don't necessarily know about is scouting report. Now, without giving away any secrets, any trade secrets, what goes into a week's worth of a scouting report for the team?
So each week I will watch on Monday, Tuesday, I try and watch film of the previous weekend of our upcoming opponent. So just today I finished our scouting report for Bethel, so I watched them play Augsburg. I try to watch their most recent contest if possible. It's a little tricky with stretch internet and some teams password protect and whatnot. But we really look at tendencies. What are they going to run on their forecheck? What are they going to run in the neutral zone? Power play, penalty kill. What are some of their tendencies? Do they have any face-off plays we need to be aware of? Who are their top players that we need to be aware of? Some stats, power play, penalty kill, that sort of thing. Just so that we feel as prepared as we can be going into the weekend. We don't really want to be surprised by anything. And ultimately we worry about what we do, and we know that we can only control what we do on the ice. But it is nice to have that preparation and feel ready to go for the weekend.
One thing heading into just about every single game is that Anya's going to score a goal. Talk a little bit about what Anya brings to this team this year.
Yeah, no doubt she brings an offensive spark every time she's out there. She's fun to watch. She competes. She's got a great shot. She tries to score 5-hole almost every single time. But she just battles. She's aggressive and she just gets up and down the ice. And she's really matured into a leader. And I know you're going to touch on a little bit later with some of the experiences she's had this offseason. But she's really matured and kind of come into her own as a senior.
And so looking ahead now as we kind of wrap up this segment, Jason, goals for this team? Have you and Sarah set specific goals? Is it let's get as far as we can and see where it takes us? Because certainly with all the underclassmen that you have, they're getting terrific experience and some playoff experience sure wouldn't hurt.
Correct. Right? Yeah, we had 12 freshmen last year that got that playoff experience, so adding in the freshmen now would be great to be able to do it again. And it even helps in recruiting to be able to say, hey, we made the playoffs last year versus, we were 2 points out and lost on a tiebreaker. It's so much nicer to say we made it. And we definitely, that was one of our goals for the beginning of the year, to make the playoffs, and then you never know what happens once you get in. But really with the new coach, it's kind of setting that foundation, and doing the things we need to do now are going to pay off down the road. All
right, Jason, we're going to bring Anya on next. And you talked about her leadership skills and all of that. What's one thing she won't tell us that you think we should know about Anya?
That she won't tell you. I don't want to steal Donny's line. I know he's got a good one for her. One thing Anya won't tell us.
Like, is she the locker room
clown?
She's
the locker room clown, but I don't think she's going to shy away from that.
She won't shy away from that. Okay.
She might not want to tell you about going tanning before a game and getting sunburned.
Will it be noticeable on the air?
It might be. She might look a little red through her face mask.
All right, Jason Carter, the assistant women's hockey coach at St. Mary's. Thanks for joining us, and good luck here the rest
Thank
of the
you very
season.
much. Appreciate
All right, Anya Hafiz, our senior forward, is coming on the show next here on HBC.
The excitement, the Big Ten basketball on BTN.
No way! Oh my goodness! One-man wrecking crew, and he is fired up. How sweet was that? Oh! Are you kidding me? Oh, that was nice.
Big Ten basketball all season long on BTN and the Fox Sports app.
Exclamation point!
Texas needs someone like you, an outsider, to build something of true excellence.
This crew can't just be good, they gotta be the best.
Oh, the good Lord sure took his sweet time with you, didn't he?
Missed an episode of 911 Lone Star? Catch up anytime.
Fall back! Fall back!
911? What's your emergency?
911 Lone Star, Mondays, or watch anytime on demand or Fox Now. So your restaurant's going down the drain.
I don't know what to do.
Stay calm. Gordon's on the way.
Have a taste.
You got a mouse up top, you got some grease down low, you got a dirty refrigerator that's about to blow. You need a chef.
You're in trouble.
To help you shine.
Smell that.
His name is Ramsay and he's coming just in time. So if your diner could be finer, he'll be there for you, Jack. Gordon's 24 hours to hell and back.
A new restaurant in 24 hours.
This is amazing.
That is disgusting.
Tuesdays on Fox, or watch anytime on demand or Fox Now.
And we are back here on the Cardinals Nest. Dean Beckman alongside Donny Nadeau. We're featuring women's hockey on this week's Cardinals Nest. We had Jason Carter, the assistant coach, in on the previous segment, and now it's Anya Hafiz. Anya is our senior forward, one of the seniors on the team this year for St. Mary's. So Anya, thanks for being on the show today. And
Absolutely.
This is the first time that you've appeared on the Cardinals Nest, and based on your career statistics, it's about time.
It is
Donny,
about
that
time.
we get Anya on the show. So Anya, tell us a little bit more about yourself, about kind of where you grew up and how you ended up coming to St. Mary's, and also specifically why and how you got into hockey.
Yeah, I grew up in Woodbury, Minnesota. It's a suburb of St. Paul. And I actually started hockey later than like an average hockey player does. But usually people see their siblings or someone playing and then they end up following in their shoes. My siblings didn't play hockey. My parents put me in figure skating. And when we got off for like my first session, hockey players went on and I was like, no, like I want to do that.
I want to join that.
Yeah.
Did you kept knocking all the other figure skaters to the ground?
I just wasn't, the skates weren't working for
They weren't
me.
working
I
for
was
you.
more of like, yeah, let's go fast and hit someone rather than let's twirl in a circle. So, yeah, we figured out quickly that I'm not a figure skater, and my dad put me in hockey. But yeah, so I played high school at Eastridge, and then Greg Moore recruited me to come to St. Mary's, and I've been here since.
Yeah, excellent. So, and what's your major at St. Mary's?
I'm a psychology major.
Okay, good. So, and being a senior now, any thoughts about what you might want to do with that psychology major?
Yeah, I've always been interested in like the criminal investigating or like the forensic part of psychology. So I have a minor in criminal justice, and then my plan was to go to grad school. So I'm either gonna go to grad school for forensic psychology or get some work experience and then go back to grad school.
All right, good, thanks.
And when you were growing up, you mentioned that you got into hockey a little bit later. Did you play with the boys during the youth time, or did you play with girls all the way up through?
Yeah,
high school?
I played with boys until I was in 8th grade, and then when I was in 8th grade, I tried out for the high school team and ended up making it. So I went straight from boys to girls, or boys to high school girls, which was different because you went from like checking and a way different style of play to like high school. So
When you came from high school, and granted it was 4 years ago, but if you can think back, what were the biggest adjustments you had to make moving from high school to college hockey?
I would say just how much more work you have to put in. I know like people on our team that come from AAA, they only practice like 3 times a week, which like we already have like high school players, we have that on them where we practice every single day. But definitely like practicing every single day, and then like the workload of school, and then working out on top of that. There's just so much that goes into it, and like it's definitely tiring. So adjusting to that, and then it's just more like everyone wants to be there, whereas in high school, like, like it's kind of more for fun and not everyone takes it seriously. So just like being there and showing up every single day.
So Anya, I want to take a look at your career statistics here a little bit, because you've had a phenomenal career at St. Mary's. In just 3 years, you've had 22 goals, 13 assists, and as I said last week when we had Kyle Mee on the program, according to Donnie's calculations, that's 35 points. So, you've really played well during your time on the ice.
And I bet that's the first time you even knew those numbers, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you don't play, right, for the statistics. You truly are like, kind of the stereotypical team player, right?
I would like to think so, yes. I mean, obviously there's games where you play and you're like, you try so hard that you want to like score a goal or get an assist. But I mean, there's like in every game, I just want to win. Mm-hmm. So I don't care who has to put the puck in the net. I just want to win.
Yeah.
So.
Do you feel any I don't want to say pressure, but I mean, you are a goal scorer. There's no two ways around that. Do you feel any pressure or extra, pressure, I guess, to be that goal scorer in certain games? Do you go out, on the ice, maybe a third period, and say, okay, I have to score, or are you able just to kind of play your game?
I'm usually able to play my game. Sometimes, obviously, I get frustrated, as anyone would. But I don't know. I feel like I honestly do better under pressure. And if I tell myself, like, I do need to score, or, like, people are coming up to me, like, this is your time, whatever. I don't know why, but I always end up, like, pulling through. And I'm not, like, on the bench, like, telling myself, like, it's this next shift. But, like, having the mindset that, like, something needs to happen, I don't know why, but it ends up happening.
Before we talk about the rest of this season, the rest of your senior year, I want to step back a little bit and have you talk a little bit about this summer. You're playing with the Lebanese national team. I think is a pretty special honor, and just if you can just talk a little bit about how that came about and what the future of that holds.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got asked. Well, my manager of the team emailed Greg Moore, asking if I'd be interested in being a part of this team, and I was. So I started emailing with her and ended up, like, our first meeting was in Montreal. That's our home rink is technically in Montreal, because we don't have one in Lebanon yet. But yeah, so it's still like the beginning of it for the federation and for the program. But it's grown so much since, like, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago that we started. This past summer, we had, like, 2 training camps. And just every single time we meet up, there's more talent, there's more people, and it's amazing. We recently just played in Toronto, and we had 2 games against AAA teams in Canada. And we performed really well, and we looked better than we have in the past. And in this coming summer, we're going to Paris to play against Team France. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for that. And the team is so young, like, the age range is from, like, 15 to, like, 35. So it's definitely an adjustment having all those different ages. But then you have a 15-year-old that's, like, better than me at hockey, and I'm like, okay, I can't wait to see what she looks like in 2 years. But yeah.
So I know you're the captain of that team. You were voted captain. How has that leadership that you have to possess there, especially with an age group that you're talking about, how has that transferred over to St. Mary's in terms of your leadership? Because obviously your demands as a leader have changed from when you were a freshman to now, and it's obvious when we watch you play that you certainly are a leader of this team.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very glad that I was nervous at first to be the captain, because I don't usually look at myself as, like, the captain type. I like to lead by example, like, on the ice, but off the ice, I like to get people off task and joke around. But this was definitely, like, a wake-up call, and I'm so thankful for it. But yeah, with having the age group, like, definitely the older girls are more, like, they buy in and they're, like, ready to do the off-ice workouts, whether it's, like, hard, the warming up, like, all that stuff. And then the younger girls, like me, I found in the past would complain. So I think just, like, getting everyone to buy in for, like, the greater good of the team, that stood out to me. And then that's something that, like, I brought to St. Mary's. Like, no one likes the person that gets everyone off task when, like, everyone's trying to be serious, or, like, the complainer and stuff like that. Like, just pushing through for, like, a common goal for the team.
So how often does this Lebanese team get together then?
It's based off an NCAA schedule, so they try and do it whenever we're on break. So we just did it over the Christmas break, and then we do have a game in Kuwait that I'll be missing because we have Hamlin and Augsburg. But other than that, in, like, the summers, Easter break, they try and make it.
Yeah. And then to be asked to play on the team, do you need to have a parent who was born in Lebanon, or what are the requirements to be invited to the team?
Yeah, you have to have your dad. It has to be your dad that has to be born in Lebanon, or like 100% Lebanese. And then you also have to have citizenship. So thankfully, my whole family has citizenship. But I know, like, a bunch of people on my team are working to get their citizenship right now.
Okay. So let's focus on this year's St. Mary's team now. you heard Coach Carter talk about his thoughts on how the season has gone so far. Now let's get the perspective of a player.
I think, like Coach Carter was saying, our record isn't where we would want it to be, but we have been playing tricky teams, and we do have a new coach, and one of our core values that we chose as a team was discipline, and that's on and off the ice. And obviously with the new coach, it's going to take a while to have that structure and all of that set in. So I'm just excited for when all that does set in, what Sarah will bring to the team.
Now, give us your thought, your kind of first impressions of Sarah, and now that you've gotten to know her. Now, keep in mind, she will be able to see this, Anya. but no, seriously, give us your thoughts on Coach Murray.
Well, personally, I was deathly scared of her. Although she's tiny and so cute and petite, she's scary. And I had a couple meetings with her at the beginning, and I was so scared, and then I started talking to her, and I was like, okay, she's pretty cool. And she, and along with Jason, they're both they're younger, so, I feel like it's easier to talk to them, and they they understand you, and I don't know, but.
So earlier you heard Coach Carter give us a little insight into Anya. How about Anya giving a little something we wouldn't know about Coach Carter and something he didn't say during his segment on the show? You got anything for us?
I would first like to back myself up because I got my hair dyed, and the first thing Coach Carter said was not oh, your hair looks good. It was, oh, do you need to go tanning now? So naturally, I'm okay, he's hinting, I need to go tanning. So what do? I go tanning, and I got burnt.
Right.
And then he thinks he can make fun of me for it, but it's his fault.
I think rebuttals are good.
I think rebuttals are good. Now, I know that Anya does not pay attention to stats, and I really did know that about her. But did you know that when the season started, she actually holds the school record?
No, I did not.
Yep.
In
she
what?
holds the school record for the most retakes of her mugshot
in
the history of St. Mary's. And I've been doing mugshots for 25
and
years.
And they're still ugly.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to post all 13 of them and let people choose which one they think is the best one.
I'm just getting exposed.
Yes, you are. But we appreciate your good-naturedness. So Anya, I think just 30 seconds left here, real quick. Looking ahead for this team, playoffs, is that kind of the goal, and maybe beyond, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have some good matchups coming up, and obviously, like Jason said, there's two teams above us that we would love to compete with and beat. But yeah, definitely just securing a spot in playoffs would be the goal for the team right now. And I think we can do it.
Excellent. All right, Anya Hafiz, senior forward on the Cardinals women's hockey team. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's Cardinals Nest. Thanks for watching here on HBC.
They're not going anywhere. This season is going to be deadlier than ever. Temptation Tuesdays are back. Tyler Perry's The Haves and the Have-Nots, Tuesdays, 9/8 Central.
Alton Brown joins the worst cooks in America.
Welcome to boot camp.
They come seeking direction.
Can you smell it?
Striving to be better.
I'm a hot mess in the kitchen.
They try
to be so bad. They seem very enthusiastic.
Like messy's up, Riley.
Do you think?
And yet they fail.
What is that?
Ha! This is why I don't go into the kitchen.
They are the worst.
I want to go home.
You're stuck here with me.
All new Worst Cooks in America, Sunday night at 9 on Food Network.